All right, welcome back, folks. If it's Sunday night or possibly Monday morning, if you're over where Michael is in Japan, welcome to a new weekly and kind of exciting series that we're doing here. Chris Garlock here, of course, with Michael Redmond, Nine Don Professional. Michael, great to see you. Let me turn my sound down on my iPad. That's annoying. Sorry about that. I have too many screens here, too many screens. Anyway, very good to see you. You're looking well, and I'm assuming that's the case. Keeping well?
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, that's very good news. And I see you're getting lots of traction with your YouTube channel and your Twitch stuff. Yeah, that's going well.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I think I'm gradually growing my YouTube channel. Yeah, so it's good. I'm working on it.
We were just talking about, I've been working on some podcasts and also, of course, becoming a Zoom expert. And so not too bad for a couple of old dogs. We can learn some new tricks, right, Michael?
Right, yes. It's keeping us young, I think.
Yeah. So sometimes my brain does feel like, Anyway, very good to see you, and thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to go to the game in just a minute, but first, we do have some not exactly breaking news, but folks have been asking for a while what's going on with the annual U.S. Go Congress, and it is now official that it is canceled for this year, which obviously we're very sad about. I was particularly looking into going out to Colorado in the mountains. It's gorgeous out there. But obviously, it's just not safe, and we don't want anybody to be worrying about that. I was actually doing an interview with a flight attendant the other day, and she minced no words. She said people should not fly. It is not safe for folks. It is not safe for them. I'm sure at some point that that will change, and hopefully soon. But right now, we just need to really take care. I'm sure that we all know people who have died. We had our first Go player that we heard about this week, and it's probably not the only one, but it's the one that we heard about. So, this is real. So be careful out there, folks. So that's the bad news. No Go Congress this year, but of course we'll be back next year. We'll have details on that as soon as we can. Again, Stephen will put up the links so you can check out and follow Michael's YouTube channel. You can follow him on Twitter. Obviously, follow us here on our Twitch channel so that whenever you never know when we might just decide to pop up and do a game commentary. So follow us on the Twitter channel here as well. I think Stephen has some of the games that they broadcast on Twitch earlier this week, which are also here on Twitch. And I'm sure he'll be putting them up on our YouTube channel as well. So you'll want to check those out. And I'm sure that I'm forgetting. Oh, our book.
You're forgetting the book. Yeah.
I guess I should write this stuff down, but I have you to remind me. So yes. Our book, it's so, we put so much work into that and getting it out. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and we've been busy dealing with things, and it's not that we forgot about the book. It's just that the normal things that we would have been paying attention to. But anyway, it is out. It is available. Folks have been asking about a print edition. We're in some discussions. I don't think we've made any final decisions, right, Michael? I think
I don't think so. I think we have some ideas.
Yeah. But I would say, go for the one that we put out, because nothing against print books. I know there's folks who are fans of the print, but this book is really designed to be an online tool. And frankly, as much time as we're all spending online, I think we all have an appreciation. And the book is designed. It's got links. It's got videos. It's got playable diagrams. It's really worth checking out. So Stephen will put up the link for that. But as anybody who knows Michael knows, he's big on the variations and the So the clickable, and that was really, Michael, what held us up. We would have had this out, I think, a year ago if we hadn't insisted on not only the diagrams you could play through, but the first iterations, let's be honest, the first iterations of that were not ready for prime time. They didn't work so good.
Yeah, well, being able to see the variations easily is really important because if you're not even if you're a stronger player, but if you're not a stronger player, it's really very difficult to imagine them just looking at a diagram. A
Yeah.
still diagram is much more hard to understand. Whereas if you can see the moves flowing, it's a big advantage.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So
Yeah.
anyway, Stephen will put up a link. Check it out. I think there's a sample up there that you can see what it looks like. And oh, there it is. And while we're looking at that beautiful cover, Mike Samuel did that, and just I just love it. I love everything about it. So he did a really good job. So it's a good work. Good
Yeah.
work, Michael.
You're talking
All
about
right.
him every time we do this.
You
Yeah.
know, but the story I always love to tell is, I called him and I hadn't talked to him in years and I chatted with him. I think it was maybe 5 minutes we talked about the book after we caught up. And, he said, I'll get you something in a couple of weeks. And like an hour later, he sent us something and it wasn't final, but it was pretty darn
Good.
close.
Good. Yeah.
That's the way that Michael rolls. So
I remember
anyway.
seeing that.
Yeah. Well, I sent it to you because I liked it, but I was a little nervous. I thought, you might hate it, but you liked it too. So that was good. All right. I think I've taken care of all of the business. Just a reminder to everybody, as always, shoot us your questions. Stephen and I will both be monitoring the chat, and we'll get to as many of them as possible. Again, this is one of the things that we love about doing this live stream is that we get to interact with you guys live, and that's a lot of fun for us. And it gives Michael a chance to take a little bit of a break, sip his tea. So that's a good thing. All right. So, Michael, this is one of your games, and this is from last fall, I'm thinking, right?
Right. Last year, it's one of the games I played against fairly famous Go players. I had this kind of a streak of games where I was playing against people who you would probably know their names. And this one was Kobayashi Satoru. So he's kind of a living legend, you might say. He has been one of the top title holders in Japan for a while. When he took the Kisei tournament from Chochukun, I forget what year it was exactly, but he had it for a few years. And there was a period where Chochukun was just dominating the Go scene, and there were a few players who were trying to take titles away from him. And so Kobayashi Satoru was one of the younger players who was trying to do that, and he was the first, I think, to succeed.
And what would you say, or what characterizes his play?
Oh, he's extremely flexible. He has a great grasp of the overall position. He always did. Like I remember the first time I played him on TV, it was a fast game, and his understanding of what was going on was so much ahead of me at that time. It's just that feeling, and so. Yeah, so his grasp of what you would call the score nowadays, who is leading the game or what has to be done, and so he can choose moves that are going to be good enough and moves that are not going to be good enough, even if they work. So he has a very good grasp of whether he has to play a strong move or can play a more normal looking move.
And what was your plan going into this game?
At this point, I was very much into studying openings with Leela, even more than I am now. And so I was just trying to create a new opening for myself at that point. And so I was very deep into that. And you'll see I'm playing, let's just put a few stones on the board. Is that okay?
Sure.
You can see I'm playing star points. So I'm playing star points against Kobayashi Satoru. He's one of the old class players, you might say. I'm not really expecting him to jump into the 3 points immediately. So that's something I don't have to worry about. And I have some ideas about what I'm going to do. But it turns out we both play a fairly modern opening here. But I was experimenting a lot with the two star points in this opening.
And just as we head into the game, what are some of the things we should be looking for?
Well, you're going to see one of the relatively new openings where white is not. Let's just show you one more move. I play the approach move here. This is where before we had computer programs, you would sort of expect white to play a pincer or to answer on the left when black plays the first approach move. And nowadays, that's all changed. Like it's more popular to play away when black plays this approach move. And so already we see my opponent, I have the black stones, but my opponent is already playing a new move himself. And so you can see, I'd say that Kobayashi Satoru is such an established player, he has his own style. If you see him experimenting with computer moves, then it shows you that just about everyone would be willing to do that.
Fascinating. Hey, quick question, and I don't want to derail you because people sometimes think these are very simple questions, and sometimes I feel like it's dangling string in front of a kitten to ask you a question like this because I know it's a complicated answer, but see if we can come up with a sort of simple answer, which is, and it's a good question, which is given how common the 3-3 invasion has become, why haven't we seen more players play the 3-3 itself?
That's a really interesting question. And the most honest answer to that is that I don't know.
Okay.
But of course, part of it is the fact that when people study those openings with a computer program, they're going to see low scores, relatively, most of the time.
I see.
And so the computers actually don't think very highly, the ones that I use at least, they don't think very highly of playing the first move in a 3-3 point. And it's something that I don't really fully understand because in the human context, there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't see it going really bad quickly in those games that I've been studying.
Okay, that's a good answer. I'll take that. Cool.
Well, it's good enough for people who study with computers, I guess. Yeah, they know how strong the computer is.
Exactly. Cool.
Okay, so
all right, off to the game.
Back to the game. So this is a point where it has become very popular for white to play away and play an approach move in the upper left. In fact, I've been showing you this opening with some other top players. Like there was a game, I think it was 2018, I played against Cho Wu, where he played this against me. And it was my first game against that. And the idea with this particular approach move is that it's in one of the major variations in the lower left. This white stone is going to be a ladder breaking move. So black plays the double quite often. In this game, I played the double Kobayashi. This move could have been played in the upper left corner or anywhere, but this is a reasonable move. And white plays here. Now, when white has played the attachment and extension here, it's not considered good for black to jump into the 3-3 point. This has been true for a long time. So let's make a variation for that. So if black jumps into the 3-3 point, white's going to play here. And this is a joseki that used to be played a lot. But when this is played without the pincer on the left side of the board, and it's just the white wall alone, white's shape is actually very efficient. And even before AlphaGo came to the scene, most people were saying that this is good for white. It's just the fact that white's position there on the outside is a very efficient shape with white stones forming a wall. And there's two black stones that have been sort of wasted there. There's the two black stones that have been pretty much captured by white. And that's a large number of stones to be sort of useless. Not completely useless, but they've been sacrificed. So while this used to be a fairly popular joseki, now it's only played, let's get rid of the two triangles here, the two marks, and say, like if there was a white stone somewhere on the side, like one of these two marks points. If there was a white pincer there, then it could still be played. Or a pincer here. One of those places, or a pincer here. One of those four places, let's say. Those four places are places where white might have had a pincer to start with, or similar points on the lower side. If white started with a pincer, that would be one more wasted move for white. And it would be reasonably even, I suppose, for black to play that. So that's one thing. There's also the fact that when black, okay, Now let's have black play the attachment here. This move has been around for decades at least, but it became very popular after AlphaGo also. And it turns out that the program that was maybe the strongest before AlphaGo was the Japanese program that is called Zen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that was not using neural networks. It was a fairly strong program. And it was one of the first programs to integrate the neural networks into it. So when the version that came out after AlphaGo was one of the first versions that was available to us. And so Zen liked this move too. And the modern programs like Leela, Katago, and those programs like it in general. But in this case, when white has that stone in the upper left corner, white can cut here, and black connects, and it turns out that the ladder favors white.
Mm-hmm.
And the ladder would not favor white if it was just the black star point up there in the upper right corner. So when the ladder favors white, white can get to this position. And this is a slight advantage for white. This is actually how the game I played against Chou continued.
Right,
and
I remember.
After the game, he did tell me that white had a good score.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell me the exact score. He made it necessary for me to figure that one out for myself. But he likes to do that, sort of playing with me. He never gives you full information. But yeah, he did allow me to know. Yeah, he did allow me to know that white had a good score on this.
To work it out for yourself.
Yeah. So I didn't go into that variation. And when white cuts here, like playing an Atari is not really an option here. It would be bad. Probably just be bad for black. The corner, this cornerstone being captured like that. So I played the diagonal move here, avoiding that ladder that was happening before. And this is something that I had been experimenting with. So it's one of, there's multiple games in which I tried out this move. In this game, my opponent played the Kosumi, a relatively simple move. A simple, understandable shape, you might say, and I pushed here. So we're already into sort of unknown territory here, and it's almost a new joseki.
Wow.
White plays a hane. This is pretty much a must move, and this is the turning point here because the move I chose was the cut.
Yeah.
And this is a very sharp move, and it's the move I still want to play, but Leela doesn't like it. Leela says that I should be playing a hane here.
Wow.
And that's the other choice. Like it's one of those two. If I play a hane here, it's going to turn out something like this, and I'll have to play this side. I still don't really like this, but this gets a better score than what I was doing in the game.
Interesting.
And you'll see how I like the game. It gets really exciting in the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would definitely have been, tempted to cut right away because I was thinking that white had to just extend because the cut looked scary.
Yeah. Well, of course, white has a good safe move at this point. Where would you play with white?
I guess just attach at F4 maybe.
Very good. That's good shape. White plays an attachment at F4. And when black plays a hane, now what?
Oh man, it's not enough just to come up with the first right move.
Well, this is the important one actually.
I don't know. Can you get away with a hane?
Yeah, the hane
Yeah.
hane here, right?
I'm totally guessing, but that looks right. I don't know.
Any strong player will tell you that the tesuji is to play a hane here.
Okay, that's
except for Leela.
What does she know?
Okay, so it turns out, and I actually pushed through here. So this is another chance. It turns out that white can be satisfied with this shape. So white could have just played an Atari like this, and then pushed through.
No, it's the same, same result, right?
This is really grossly vulgar. It's just
yeah.
Coming through from behind. It doesn't look like a good move. But it turns out this is going to be simply playable for white, and I'll show you why. So white played here, and so I pushed through. It was actually a chance for me to play this way, which would have changed it pretty much. Like in this case, white's going to extend here probably. If white extends here, then I can cut now and push through. And the point is that it's not very good for white to squeeze in this shape, because if white squeezes like this, the stone at 8, the final stone that white played as an Atari, is not really a very useful move. So it looks like white's put black into a bad shape, but white's sort of falling apart on the outside and has not gained anything on the inside. So it's not worth it.
Right.
So what white will do is either cut on the 3rd line or extend on the 5th line. The problem here is that this ladder, it turns out, is actually good for black. It's slightly different from the ladder I was talking before.
Right.
And it's going to hit the black stone in the upper right corner. So the fact that I'm taking 2 stones instead of just 1 in a ladder, it's a big difference. It makes the ladder a lot better for me. And so it's okay that I'm losing these stones. Like these stones, they still have a little bit of aji. I could do something like this. For instance, something like this, get some forcing moves from outside. And so I would be satisfied with the great shape that I have on the outside towards the center of the board, capturing those 2 stones in a ladder. This would actually be pretty good for black. So the fact that white did not play that vulgar Atari gave me the chance to play this move. So this would have been optimal for white. But in the game, we're going to get to the same position because I played the good shape move too, and I pushed through immediately. And so this was another chance for white to connect here. So to show you what happens if white connects here, I want to cover on the 5th line, right?
Sure.
I want to cover on the 5th line.
Yeah, you do.
White's going to play a double Atari. Now, if I just extend here and white captures the 1 stone, I'll probably play here. This is giving white too much on the lower side. It's a very nice white there.
Yeah.
The move that I sort of want to play here, instead of extending, looks like maybe I can play this one and squeeze. So this would be the kind of business I'm looking for. But at this point, I run out of the next move. Like if I just take 2 stones, that's great, but white has a great shape on the outside and has all the territory too. So this is actually for white. Or if I don't like that, maybe I'm going to try connecting, but this is just going to be bad. Like this variation, I'm already in trouble with the extension here, but even on the lower side, this is going to be some kind of a ko. It's going to be difficult for me also. Like the best I can do, I only have 3 liberties, so something like this is going to lose the semi. The best I can do is start a ko with something like this. And this is just simply bad for me. It's with this extension here, I'm falling apart all over the place.
It's a little early for that.
Yeah, it would be the end of the game. So let's see. I've lost myself in the variations. Okay. So when white connects here, I can't just do that. I have to start with the cut here. And when I do that, I'll be able to cover. I have to connect on the 6th line here, and we end up with something like this. This is probably slightly better for white. White would be playing away at this point, maybe a double kakari here. We would continue playing. Like it's not a big difference, but maybe slightly better for white. So this could have happened, and it was completely unexpected for anything like this to happen. Like connecting here was not even a variation that I was considering. And my opponent didn't consider it either. The whole point is this move is supposed to be the correct sushi here.
Right.
The idea we have is that white's going to extend here. So this is completely unexpected, but this is what Leela wanted us to play. And it's actually working to a certain extent. And
you agree with it now?
It looks like it's like that variation I was showing you.
Yeah.
It's going to be still this one. It's not the end of the world. I'd be happy enough to play with black in this variation, but it does have a good score for white, according to Leela.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I agree. This is actually, it's not bad for white either at this point. So I cut and I crawl. So in this variation, I'm putting a pressure on the corner. I have some trouble in the center, but if I do get to this point, it's this one is going to be a ladder. If I do get to play this a move at the mark point.
You look a little busy on the outside.
Yeah, I'm really busy. That's why I'm crawling. Like the good shape move would be to play a hanging connection here.
Right.
But I didn't like this is a pretty severe move that white has here. I didn't feel I had the time.
Oh yeah, that's
so I'm
painful.
Pushing. The idea is that if white extends here, I'm going to push once more. White's probably, I don't know. This could be exciting. Or I could play a Hane here, and then taking the ladder. This would be the relatively simple variation, because the ladder works, this is going to be fairly, something like this could happen. White will be alive, and I'm not alive yet, actually. I'm not alive yet.
Yeah, I know you're not alive. I'm very worried about that.
This is where I got to with Leela, this variation where I live on the side. It's pretty close to even, actually. So something like this could happen. I'm not going to guarantee it. There's a lot of places where that could have gone differently.
I was going to say that. I mean, that's definitely not something for us to try at home because I could see things dying really easily.
So extending here, actually, the fact that black gets to crawl once, it gives black a little extra room. It does put the cornerstones under more pressure.
Yep.
So the move that my opponent chose was this one. And there's a very clear reason for this move is that white is going to reinforce the corner. So we'll see how that works. White plays here. I don't really have time to cut. Like if I cut, for instance, something like this would just be too dangerous.
Wow.
So I play a Hane underneath. White connects, and I extend. And the whole point for this this move here, I'll mark the white move, the Hane here, was that white gets to force from this side and reinforce the corner. So with this move, which is a forcing move, white gets to live in the corner with Sente, with a tempo. And black has to answer that. Otherwise, there's a cut at this point, which would capture all three of the black stones. So I have to answer that. And white gets to extend in the center. So the first take on this is that maybe this is good for white, but it turns out it's actually fairly close.
Really?
Even fight. Like at the time, I was a bit worried. But it turns out.
Worried. I see. Just the Kasumi. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Well, that's the only move. So white stones on the right here.
Yeah.
Are not so healthy. And it turns out that black stones on the left, they can be handled. Like white has two choices here. In the game, white actually came from the outside. White could have captured two stones with the cut here.
Right. I see. You just sacrifice the two stones and crawl. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Okay. So what's a good shape for move black here? Good shape move for black.
I'm assuming just connect because otherwise it's.
Well, if you connect, there's a problem with that because white curls around and black cannot cover on the second line.
All right. Then the hanging connection, but that looks. Oh no. How about E9?
E9, you're in good form today, but I'm asking a lot of trick questions because
I know you're really. I'm not even getting any help from my posse here.
When I say the good shape move, basically this is it was a good enough answer. This is the shape that you would see in games from hundreds of years ago. This is always the shape that black plays.
Right.
And when white curls around, black plays something like this. This is really good shape for black. It's just black's fixing the shape on the outside. White's not going to do that final exchange. But this is the way black is. We always thought black is supposed to play. It turns out Leela is saying that the hanging connection is okay. just because it's stopping black on the left stopping white when white curls around here. Black can cover on the second line, and it looks so bad with the Damezmari there, but it turns out
I know. It looks terrible.
It looks bad, but it's going to be difficult for white to continue from this point. Like, white has some cutting points to deal with, and black is going to. This is just a variation that I was doing. It's a bit complicated, but this is actually, it's pretty good. The win rate that Leela was giving me was about 45, more than 45% for black. And since black starts with something like 43%, that's actually not so bad.
Interesting.
It's an improvement. So white did cut, and I played. White did not cut. White played the knight's move, and I played here. And now white played away. So this is an important branch for white. White would like to be able to play here, but I actually had a plan for that. And so my plan actually matches what Leela is telling me to do. So this was good reading on my part in this case. So I have this attachment, which is a move that I had been looking at from the point I played the original diagonal move here. So it's this move, this attachment in the corner is something that's been waiting to happen. Even if it was a more peaceful game, it would have been happening in the end game. This is the shape that black has in the corner. And if white plays there, I can play here. Otherwise, if white plays on the other side, if white plays here, this gives black an eye in the corner, and it's really bad for white. So black already has 2 eyes, and white's going to be in trouble.
White's in big trouble.
So white covers in the corner. There's trouble with this because white has a lack of liberties. The moment if white plays here, white's going to be okay, but black's going to be okay too with the forcing moves here. And black's already alive. Like this is relatively easy for black with the white corner not alive yet.
Wow.
So the interesting things happen when black plays here and white tries to play an Atari on the first line. I'm going to cut here. And if white
I was just trying to read that out real quick. Yeah.
Now this is just bad for white. It's a disaster.
Oh my disaster! Oh my God.
Oh. Otherwise, those 2 cutting stones. Otherwise, if white, even if white can actually this is not even forcing, but let's just give this variation. Even this would be bad for white because white's not completely alive in the corner.
No, it's a ko.
It's a ko, so I could just play like this and I'm alive anyway. So even something like this would be a bit painful for white.
It's a big understatement of the day.
Okay, so white did not cover here. Basically, it's not working. So white presses on the side, and with this move, I'm reinforcing the center. I'm threatening to push through on the 4th line and cut with a move here. So white has to deal with that. White plays here. So far, yeah.
No, I have a quick question. So this is all new stuff, right? I mean, some of it was things that looked at.
It's a brand new variation.
Yeah.
And I think at the point white played a honey here, I was already outside of my preparation.
Wow.
So I had prepared the first few moves in a way, and I was willing to try that out. And I knew actually that Leela had different ideas, but I was going to try it out anyway.
Good for you. Good for you.
But after white played that honey on the 4th line here, we got into a variation that I had not foreseen.
Wow. And this is a tournament game. It's
a tournament game.
No, I mean, I'm just really, we've talked about it before, but I'm just really impressed.
Especially when you're playing a top player like Kobayashi, anyone who's at the top. Actually, playing safe is the worst thing to do. Like if you're playing in your comfort zone, it's even easier for your opponent he has a lot more experience of playing championship matches and stuff like that. So he has more experience playing against top players than I do. It's much better idea to take things out of the charted territory. Actually.
Right. But scary.
It's more fun too. Yeah. So at this point, I played this move, and I was very proud of it. And you probably recognize the pattern now that Leela didn't like it. Leela just wanted me to jump out. I had
Yes.
an idea here that if white covers here, then next this is going to be forcing. And so this is going to be really nice. This is the point is that if I simply take here, then white has a better territory in the corner. This is a better territory for white.
Right,
And
right.
I wanted to play this exchange and then take. That's so much better, an extra profit. And so I'm asking white, what are you going to do? And white has the option to play this move, which was the game move. And this makes it bad for me, according to Leela. Leela was saying that basically capturing here is important enough for black to be playing it. It does make a difference to the eyes for this group black has on the lower side. So the fact that I'm making a living group here, it will mean that I don't have to play any moves on the lower side. All of the moves on connecting up to the corner here, they're not really moves that black wants to play very much. And so the fact that I can take this one stone and have a locally living group, and for instance, in this variation, I could follow up with jumping out on the side anyway. Actually, that should be on the second line. That should be on the second line. So I could do that, and it would be no problem. So maybe I should have done that. But I wanted to see how he reacted to this move, because this would be really nice for me. So he plays the connection. And this is going to be forcing. I have to answer that on the right.
Yeah.
My idea was that I was getting this free move towards the right. Like I get one extra move towards the right, connecting me to the corner. The reason that it's getting a lower score is probably because this whole area is not an area I want to be playing a lot of moves in. So my reasoning there was, my judgment, you might say, was not correct. And I think I figured that out. Here's another move I was really proud of. It didn't change the score very much, but it didn't come up in the candidate moves very easily. So the idea with this move is that at this point, I'm forcing white to save the two stones. And when I've played that exchange with this move for this move, I've made that white group so much heavier. And it worked really well in the game. So in effect, it was a very good move. But for some reason, Leela didn't. I don't understand that completely, why Leela would not like that move. It seems such a nice invasion. An exchange. Like at any point, if black pushes from the other side, it's pretty obvious that white is just going to extend in the center and get a strong position towards the center of the board. Because this fight here in the center with all these weak stones, black's group is weak. Both of white's groups are weak. The fight in the center is very important in this game. I want to improve my position in the center as much as possible. And so I played this move.
I like it. It's got a nice feel to it.
A nice feeling, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I was really happy.
Yeah.
White plays here. And I pulled back. The idea is that white will have to play here.
Yeah.
Maybe here, and then I can extend. Or if white plays something like this, well, then I have more, at that point I would have more choice in how to deal with the left side. I might play a jump here. And the point is that if I play the jump first, and then other things happen, then of course it will be easier for white to play this move. And it will be slightly, in this variation, I don't really need that stone at the mark point. So I'm playing the peep first. I'm playing the peep first to see how white responds. So if white responds this way, that fixes my shape on the left anyway. If white responds the other way, then I can choose any move that I want to play on the left. It's probably a jump here. So again, it was a move that felt really good for me.
It's a really fierce game, right?
It is a fierce game. It's going to calm down a little bit fairly soon. But at this point, it is a very difficult fight. This move that white has played is a very sharp move.
Yeah.
A weak point. And the idea behind this move is that if black pushes through here, ultimately there's going to be a cutting point when white plays. So it's hitting a weak point in black's shape at a point where black does have to take care of these two stones. These two stones are still important as long as I'm trying to cut off white.
Right.
For instance, if white had played the connection here first, let's have white go back to this variation, and then played something like this, it would be perfectly okay for me to sacrifice two stones. Because the stone that white has played here is going to become wasted when white plays something like this and captures the two stones. White has one extra stone inside there. So the exchange for this white stone for the black stone would make this whole thing fairly efficient for black, and I would be happy just to play something on the outside.
Just going back to your nice move at F9, Leela didn't like it. Did I miss what Leela wanted you to do?
F9, that would be just jumping out.
Just jumping out. Okay. No, people wanted to know what Leela's.
No, sorry. So this move would be what Leela.
Oh, just jumping. Okay. All right.
Jumping or playing the knight's move to the left. Jumping seems again so much more efficient, but pretty persistently, Leela was telling me to play the knight's move on the left.
I like when I'm working with Leela and I'm coming up with all these clever moves, and Leela would just keep coming back to the same damn move. Just do the third line jump. It's still a good move.
So white plays attachment here. This is a very sharp move, and this was actually a chance for me to push through once.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if white covers, then I can continue as I did in the game. So the game move was I played here, but I played it without that exchange. So I gave white a chance to force it once. So the idea behind this is that black can fill a liberty here, and after this, cutting here and capturing, this is again, it's going to hit the black stone. So the ladder works. So capturing the ladder and cutting at the mark point, they look like they're Mia, and we'll get into that in more detail with the game variation. But I played the Hane first, so it was a chance for white to push here. This was the last chance for white to push here, and then push out. This is going to be a wild fight. Like white can, there's all stuff. It's very exciting.
Actually, so let me ask something that folks are wondering, and I was just thinking this too. So you're involved in this hand-to-hand combat here, right? But, obviously you'd like to play. There's other big places to play on the board, but there's no chance to play away.
Oh, there's no idea. Playing away it doesn't even cross my mind in this game.
Yeah.
It's sort of completely out of the picture. So the local fight is possibly decisive. So we have to just concentrate on the local fight.
Okay.
Anything else, it doesn't even look big to me. All those opening points, they don't look big. Okay, so white pushed through immediately, and it was my chance to push. So we've reverted to the original variation that I should have been playing. And I play here. So this is the last chance to get into an extremely difficult fight. So in the game, white just simply played here, and we made a trade of it. So I took the 4 stones, and white got some outside influence. And at this point, my win rate with Leela was something like 87%. I have a big win rate.
Wow, that's a pretty.
It's a big win rate. In a board position like this, Leela is going to be much more confident than I can be, because that big white area on the upper side is something that Leela will say it's easy to invade, and I'm not going to be so sure about that.
I have confidence in you.
White's other choice would have been to cut here. Now this would have been extremely exciting. So white could have done that. I'm not sure what would have happened actually. Like something like this could happen. It looks like a big fight. It looks actually pretty dangerous for white, but it could be. Black has to worry about these stones in the center too. These stones. It's still reasonably good for black. But like I would be continuing with the Atari here. White would escape. Something like this could happen, for instance, and I would have to deal with the cut here. So I would have a lot to deal with too, and white would have time to escape on the left side, and the fight would continue Um, I think I have potential to kill one of those white groups actually. Like this
Mm-hmm.
white group on the lower side, it's not looking so healthy anymore. But
What?
this is the kind of fight
Because it
that
has no eyes.
it has no eyes. Yeah, that's a problem. So he plays the thick move. This is it's sort of in character for Kobayashi Satoru to keep the game going. He probably feels that he's made a mistake. This is it does look good for black with black being safe now, but white does have a lot of potential towards the upper side of the board. And to be honest, with the time limits we have in modern games, I don't really feel confident in erasing that very easily, and that's going to be a factor in the following fight. So I jump out. I'm starting to. The time is going to be a factor. The fact that I just I don't feel comfortable completely with dealing with that framework that white has on the upper side. I don't know exactly what I should be doing about it. And like even if I had plenty of time to think about it, it would be hard to make a decision.
Mm.
So it's really difficult for I think most human players to deal with that kind of framework in the best way. And like Leela says, just leave it alone, and we'll jump in at the last minute. And so white plays here. At this point, I'm just grabbing territory. So my idea is to grab territory in the lower right area and finally invade the upper side. And my feeling is that this should be good enough to have a concrete lead. And the score that Leela gives seems to agree with that.
I was going to say, so I mean, actually, your plan is Leela's plan.
At this point, I'm still going on Leela plan. That's going to change later when I lose my confidence, you might say. So white plays here, and white fixes the shape here, and white plays a double card. Okay, so we get into this Joseki. You might remember I got into this one earlier in a different game.
Yeah.
In this game also white cuts here. And Leela will tell you that black should curl around here, after which white can play like this. Black has to answer somehow because the 3 stones on the right are in danger. Like if black played something on the outside, white would just capture 3 stones.
Mm.
So it's an efficient move for black to protect with the cut here. And white will capture 3 stones here. Black will extend here. This would have been, actually, I can see that it would have been good for black because black's thickness here in the upper right area is going to continue putting pressure on these white stones in the lower right area. The whole fact that these stones at this point will not have anywhere to go, and they don't have eyes yet. It means that I'm going to be able to put a lot of pressure on them, and white will have to deal with that, and I'll be able to do something in the upper left area. So I sort of agree that at this point I don't have to worry so much about white's moyo in the upper left, because I do have this potential attack against the white group in the lower right. But in this game, I sort of played it safe, played this way. Again, Leela doesn't agree with me.
It's so funny because I was just looking at that and I was thinking, in my amateur way, I totally would have just connected there. It just had a nice, solid, and especially after that really complicated fight you just had, I don't know.
You want to calm down? Yeah.
I do. I do. You're killing me here.
Okay, it's black's move. And this is a turning point.
Is it time? Is it time? Is it time to go into the upper left? Or we should have a problem.
That's a big question. Like the whole direction of play. There's a must move.
All right, folks. This is your time to shine. We're black to play. Key point in the game. Where should black play? We're not even going to give them any hints, right? All right. We got some things. We got a Q12. We got a M17. We got a P13. We got C. Man, we are all over the board, guys. Q12, M17, P13, C17, C9, C13, C17B. I don't know what that is. Is anybody
Well,
even close? Is anybody even close?
I don't think so. I didn't hear any yeses.
I'll give you some more. I got F-17, C-15, E-18, Q-9.
Okay, why don't we go into the correct move?
That's Michael's diplomatic way of saying, eh.
Okay.
Oh,
My
really?
gut feeling was that I should play
S-12?
here.
Nobody came up with S-12? Oh, that's you? That's you? That's a
That was
nice
my
one.
gut feeling.
Yeah,
But I thought about it, and you could say that I got scared because I didn't
really.
really. Basically, I didn't know what was going to do after White played something like this, and I couldn't think of anything good to do now. Like it looks difficult to get into White's Moyo now.
But if you get in there first, if you just,
It'd be
if
so much easier if I got in there first, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was my reasoning. Like my gut feeling was that I wanted this is a huge move, and it's going
right,
to establish my lead in territory. So it was an
right.
important move there. And okay, from here, this is just a variation that I generated with Leela. I play a peep here, and White's going to ignore it. And like all of these moves, uh, well, a lot of these moves are just they would be pretty difficult for me to find in an actual game. This suddenly looks pretty good for Black when Black captures an oil rig.
Yeah. Like so we
Uh,
90. Well, yeah, your win rate's only 94%, Michael. So I don't know.
yeah, so it's looking really good for Black, but I'm just at this point where I play here, I already don't know what White's going to do. Like Leela says, maybe White's going to play here. Another move that I would think maybe White might play would be this one. I still don't know what I'm going to do with the upper side, but computer programs in general, I have the feeling that AlphaGo would have the same kind of assessment. They don't value those structures very high, and they think it's very easy to jump in. Like you saw in the AlphaGo Zero games, you see AlphaGo
Oh
Zero
yeah, oh
just
yeah,
diving into Moyo's like that.
absolutely.
No problem.
Yeah, no, I remember we were looking at them, and AlphaGo Zero would weigh way beyond.
Hmm.
It was almost a game to see how long they would wait.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah.
And so it's something that you would easily see a top pro crash trying to do this. And I'm talking about really famous players would have trouble playing this style. Like it's Chochkun style in the extreme.
So hold up a sec. So give people just a real quick, use your drawing thing. You just up to because the thing is, you got to count, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because I think
Counting,
people need to. Yeah,
like just this area, it looks like 10 points. Black actually has a little extra with pushing through here, maybe.
right,
So let's call it 15 points. And Black has more than 20 points here, so that's something like 40 points with these two areas added.
right,
And Black has about 20 points on the left, so Black has something like 60 points.
right.
White has 8 points in the corner here. Let's see. You can see my lousy writing.
That's nice. That's great. I love it.
Eight
That's even
points.
better. 8 points.
And it's really hard to count anything else anywhere else. Let's just get rid of all the marking. So there's 8 points there. Obviously, White has some points in the upper right area, but like this is just something like
It's like
somewhere in
maybe
the vicinity of 6 points at this
right.
point.
So
And
like
so White
12.
doesn't have any territory. So if Black can successfully dive in there and reduce the territory, obviously Black's going to win. But it's very difficult for me to see how exactly that's going to happen. Like the other option is that if Black crashes, then it's going to be White's going to win. And when I see that I have so much more territory at this point in the game, I get the feeling that maybe instead of playing this move to make my 60 points, maybe I should be playing something a bit more cautious. So that was where my reasoning took me, and I peeped here first. But it turns out the moment White plays here, the game is actually now Leela is still giving me a high winning rate, but like I think when I look at it, well, even from the human viewpoint, or I forget whether I looked at it with Katago, but I think when you're looking at a point score, it's going to be much closer than it was before.
Hmm.
So my idea here is that I'm playing the. If I just answer here, then that's going to be a good exchange for white. That's going to be a kikashi. So white would have the option of playing away after this. So with my cut here, I'm trying to take sente. The whole idea here is to take sente, allowing white to get a position on the right side so I can play another move towards white's moyo. And so I play that move here.
I actually like your play here. The timing. I mean, Leela may not like it, but I don't see anything wrong with it.
Well, you see my win rate has gone down to 67.
I see your win rate is dropped 30 points. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's terrible.
I think the suggested move, it happens all the time. The suggested move was to push through here and peep. So I found this move actually, I like this one. Like pushing through once and then peeping to see how white will capture those two stones. That's a really a nice move. Like if white plays, I like this one because if white plays here, then I can continue with this. And it's a very effective exchange there. The exchange of 3 for 4, these two stones, it connects me in the center. So I really, I enjoyed that one. This is where I agree completely with what Leela said, actually.
Well, plus it's sold those black stones like 3 times, I think, right?
Right. And if white takes this way, that's okay too, because there's a slight weakness there on the with the peep.
Yeah.
So I can still get some mileage out of that one. So this is actually pretty, and suddenly that white group doesn't look so much like its thickness anymore.
Nope.
It looked like thickness just a few moves ago. It doesn't look like thickness anymore. So that was an eye opener. Yeah, it was a beautiful move.
Mm.
But I didn't do that. And I played the attachment here.
Mm.
And I curled around. This was a point where I had a choice of playing the curl or playing here. You can see that my gut feeling at this point was that I had a lead, and I was probably, strictly speaking, correct. And I'm trying to play fairly thickly, or trying to take the initiative, you might say, in the center of the board. And it's not really working perfectly, although I think I continued to have a lead throughout the game. It's probably better. It would have been better for me to play the extension. If I play the extension, white's going to push here, and I'm going to do this, and then just play here. White can capture 2 stones here, but you can see again I'm sort of leaning on that white group in the upper right. It's not 100% alive now. Like if I play a peep here next, for instance, I would be starting to attack.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be perfectly okay for me. And it would have been better for me to be erasing the upper side like this. This would have been the better move. You can see I'm having, it's just a human thing. The fact that I realized that I was ahead in the game, it's having an effect on the moves I choose. And I'm trying to play safe, and it's not optimal. And so this is the biggest thing that I got from this game, that I can still do that, because on the whole I fixed that to a certain degree. I try to play the best move to the position, but in this game, it turns out I was just trying to. I felt that I could win even though it became closer, and the end result was good, but in a way I was sort of lucky. So I'm pressing here on the 4th line. This is the move that I was looking at when I curled around on the 4th line here. I felt that if I could press here, this is going to isolate white in the center. White has to answer on the left, so I get to play the double hane here. And I figured that I could afford to give white the upper side. So there is some logic to that, but it does make the game a lot closer than it was before. So I have this position here. You can see I'm starting to attack white in the center of the board here.
Yeah, but look at your win rate, dude. It's
down. Yeah, 47%.
It's way down.
It's way down. Leela didn't like that final move either.
No.
But 47% is still not a losing.
No.
Since black starts the game with 43% and Leela is using 7.5 point komi, it means the game is very close now.
Right.
And so I play this exchange and capture the one stone. This is pretty big. It's something that
Yeah.
I have to play fairly soon. Otherwise, this group was not 100% alive. So was an important move. It was good for me to play that. And I start to attack white. Again,
Nice. I've been waiting for that.
I'm sort of eyeing this group in the center. Also, I'm looking at the attachment here, which could, let's mark it with the attachment here, which could take away,
Yep.
It could take away a stone or 4 stones. There's various, like, let's just do a variation for that one. In the game, white played, where did white play? White played here. And now it's not really going to work, but for instance, like this kind of idea I might have. And then potential to push through here or push through here. This kind of thing, there is some potential there. It's not really important. And also with this white stone here, there is the option for white to play more strongly.
Right.
And so I reduce the territory. You can see I'm looking at that potential kind of I have a forcing move here. So I'm using that to reduce white's territory on the right. And you can, just looking at the moves I'm choosing, you can see I'm really going for the territory as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can have the feeling that I'm realizing that the game is suddenly fairly close.
Right. But it seemed to me that your plan actually, worked pretty well.
It worked pretty well. I think it's the human context there. I'm feeling that I'm ahead. I'm thinking it's good enough. It turned out okay, but like it could have been a half pointer.
Right.
So it in a way it could have been a very dangerous choice that I made. I'm continuing to attack in the center, and I use this peep to settle my shape up there. So when I play this move, it's a fairly good shape for me locally. And you can see I have a bad win rate. You can see that I think actually this is a point in the game where when I ran the program Katago, which can adjust the komi, I think I was getting opposite results. So I think it's just the fact that the game is extremely close now, maybe a half-point difference.
Wow.
And that's where Leela and Katago were giving me different results.
Just curious, what did Leela prefer for you to do rather than that? But I'm always interested when there's a big swing to see what the program would rather I do.
Okay. Well, Leela was telling me to push through here. This is what I remember.
Really?
I remember I went fairly deeply into various variations with Leela.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like them very much. Like this is something that I considered and discarded in the game. It didn't look like it was going to work. And so I felt that this was much better. And I had my own idea of what the point score was. Like I was counting the territory and trying to read out the end game. And I felt that I knew that this was going to be a very close game. So for me, that was the right decision.
No, and I think that that's a really important point because we're all using AIs now, and I think one of the things is to know what you can do.
Right. Yeah.
I think if you look at it and you see the AI, and then you might even see the AI, move in your own game, but if you can't back it up, you can have a problem.
Right. Yeah, I think with at this point I'm 48%. You can see it's really fluctuating. And that happens when you have a very close game.
That's right. That's right.
And you have to remember that Leela is working with 7.5 points komi.
Yeah.
I think once I play here, I'm probably okay. But it probably is going to be a half-point difference, or something like a point and a half, something like that.
Were you feeling pretty confident at this point? I mean, it seems like you'd handled the reduction fairly handily.
I had no idea what was going to happen in this area. This area it's really a very difficult type of position for a human player to calculate because it's going to be different from anything we've done before. Like it's an original position there. And it's not a lot of points that we're going to be fighting over, but
Right.
like 1 or 2 point difference is going to it's going to change the result. So figuring out the right sequence for this area here, which is going to come after the big endgame points like this one and this one. There's still some big endgame points that come before the center there, but it's going to be the decisive point. I think the center here is the point where professional players can make mistakes.
Well, and I was going to ask because it's the same for amateur players, which is I'm guessing that you're probably in Biayomi at this point of the game,
Yes.
right? And this is classic for amateurs too. We've used up a lot of our time in the the beginning and the middle fighting, and then you've got a situation. You've come through it okay. You haven't died anywhere, but you've got these really big choices to make about endgame, and if it's a close game, if you make a slack move, that it's gone, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the difference between amateurs, or at least I should maybe say weaker players and professionals, is that these 3 points I've marked, the professional can look at this and say, "Oh, that's 6 points," and sort of instantly. And the professional players generally do not make any mistakes in choosing these points. It's not so true of an area like this where the professional can get confused also. And also, like a player like Kobayashi Satoru can find something original that was not I was not seeing maybe. And actually,
Right.
It is sort of interesting to see how he handles this position in the center. So he plays here, and then he plays the peep. This peep was a sharp move. It was a good move.
It's very nice.
And so I played these forcing moves here. And you can see white was threatening the wedge here. So that was a threat that white had, the wedge here with a forcing move at this point.
Mm.
So I deal with that by playing this move. So you can see I'm being forced to play some dame points here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I connect this way. So white cannot cut me, because if white cuts, I can just capture that.
Right.
Like this. So that's not going to work. But you can see white has sort of manufactured some potential territory there with a forcing move, either this forcing move, this move. White has a number of forcing moves to choose from. Any of these moves would be forcing. It means that white is going to be able to make some territory here. So this was a nice little endgame sequence that white played.
And when you say territory, you're talking about what? 2 points?
Maybe 2 or 3 points. It's not really worth a move at this point. But it's like the move white has just played in the lower right area. It's much bigger.
Sure.
So I jump here, and so I played this move. Looks sort of fancy, right?
Oh, I like it. I see what you're doing. It
was a kind of a decisive move, but it was not really correct.
Oh, really? It looks so cool.
But this sort of
show folks how it would work if it worked the way you want.
Okay. Well, the idea is that white maybe white's going to be a bit cautious about playing here because black can cut.
Right.
So this is quite often what makes this a good move. In this case, actually, it doesn't really have much meaning because white does have this potential eye here. So white's not going to die. There's also the fact that black has a rather awkward position on this side with these 2 stones being in Tari. Like if black continues with this, there is, let's see, can white make this work?
It's
maybe white
Tari
here. But there is that Atari there that is going to be a problem fairly soon. Like if white plays here, and could actually, in this case, white could push through. You can see that black is getting into trouble too. Yeah. Black has lost a lot of points. Black has lost eyes. This looks like it would turn into a fight to capture. It looks dangerous for black, actually.
It's very dangerous.
So, like, if black continues to try to kill, that would not work. Sorry. If black tries to continue to kill white with something like this, it looks like it could be a bit too dangerous for black. Oh no, yeah, that works. So that would be some kind of a semi. Uh, well,
You wouldn't
never
have to
mind.
count.
It
You
would
wouldn't
be exciting. We don't really need to show how that would turn out.
have. No.
So that's the reasoning that usually this is really so white would be afraid of that. If white is afraid of that, maybe white's going to play this move for one thing, but actually in this case, black gets to play a hane first and then connect underneath. So this would be some extra profit for black
Yeah.
in the corner. Or if white pulls back, then you can see the corner territory has been reduced a little bit. So black would just be happy to play away. Big moves would be, for instance, this would be a big move fairly.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, it might be better to play this one on the lower side. This is also a big move. At this point, I would have a lead. Just that much difference. So turns out that white can play here, and the cutting move there, this move, it's not really working very well. And I would just, playing in overtime with just 1 minute per move, I think it was. I might have continued into this variation, which doesn't really work. It's probably better for me to play elsewhere. So like moves that I could play this one, which is stopping white from making a territory in the corner, in the center, that is. Right. Or I could play this one. This move is actually pretty big because it sets up a cut here, which can be a bit troublesome. Like if white plays here, then I would have the follow-up of playing on Tari underneath. That would reduce white's territory a little bit. Otherwise, if white plays from the other side, then I would have the extra forcing move here, or actually I could even start with this one. So that would be a bit troublesome. And if white plays down here, then I would be pushing here. And again, you can see this is going to be a bit troublesome for white. Like I would be reducing white's territory there a little bit. So there's all this stuff that could happen. It could be actually in this variation, I think I would be threatening to cut here next. So that would be dangerous for white. So the cut there is pretty annoying for white. And so maybe I would be going into that variation. But in the game, this is where the game abruptly ended because white played here. And so he was in overtime too. I'm not really sure what white was. I guess that if black connects here, then white can cover here, and white doesn't have to worry about the cut here. But objectively, didn't have to worry about the cut anyway. Like in this case, if black cuts here, white can capture the whole thing with this move.
Oh yeah, no problem.
And it's just dead. So he plays here, and I play here. And at this point, he resigned because white's being cut off.
You need to show people that that's crazy.
So this was really.
That is, and you didn't see that coming, right? I mean, you didn't. That's just.
Well, I was expecting one of these other moves that white.
Yeah.
Here. I was maybe hoping for this move. And as I played this move, I realized that white could just play here. So I think that was the extent of my expectations.
Right.
And he plays here, and pretty obvious.
How long? When he played that, did you know immediately, or did you?
It was immediately obvious. I think most of the time I spent was just making sure. So, for instance, white can push through here, and like if I answer here, then it's not going to work. That would be okay for white.
Sure.
I would choose some other move. Like I could probably even get away with playing here, but the safe move would be just to connect here. And so these white stones here have been captured.
Show what happens if white goes the other way.
Okay.
If white tries to connect out.
If white tries to connect out, white would play here. I would play here. White has to cut, so I get to connect underneath. And
Whoops.
It's just not working.
Oh.
And again, like it might look like a semi, but white just doesn't have enough liberties to make it work.
No, not even close, right?
Right, not even close. So suddenly I'm something like 20 points ahead, I guess.
Did he like smack his head? I mean, that's just it's. It's just like
well, it's just it was a blind spot. Very uncharacteristic. Like I've never seen
yeah,
this.
yeah.
He's a very his reading is pretty accurate usually. So it was out of character. It was not his. It was not like him to make a mistake like that.
Well, anything can happen in time pressure, I guess, is the lesson there, right?
And I think at this point, if I play the end game correctly, which is a lot to assume because I'm already sort of going off track with this attachment here. But if I pull myself together and after white plays here, I could play a move like this one, maybe the connection here. I'm not sure. They're probably all just about equal. Any one of these choices, and I would have a small lead. I think I was maybe something like 1.5 points ahead at this point. I did study the end game.
The connected two is fascinating because it's actually worth quite a few points.
It's quite a few points. You have to notice that the fact that this black group can be potentially isolated. So there's some potential that I would be putting a stone in there, for instance, at this point at the end of the game, if I allow white to isolate that. And the fact that one of these points I might end up playing it, and sometimes I can avoid that by expanding it like this.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's one of those ones that kind of looks small, but when you look at it, you realize because it avoids all of that, it just gives you all of those points and it's totally alive. It's very.
This is also a pretty big move. I think either one of these would have won the game for me.
Can you just show people real quick why? Because I think people would be have a tendency to try and want a Hane to get something extra.
A Hane where?
At F1.
It's the same. That's equal. That's an equal value. It's the same as the G1. I mean, like I could have played there. This one, right? It's no difference. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
But the other way, black will be getting that point eventually anyway. In fact, in some cases, this might be better, like if you're running out of places to play.
I see.
Yeah. So that's nothing to be paying much attention to.
Okay. Wow. What an exciting game. I mean, you've got that hellacious, fight that just grows out of the corner there. And you had to, both of you just on knife's edge the whole time. And then, you had that big concern about how to handle white. And then, got through that. And then it looks like you're settling in for a really, a couple of point end game. And then,
well, with AGA, I've done just about all of the games I played against well-known players last year. And I had a pretty good record. And this is the one that I was thinking maybe I wouldn't do because basically it was still very difficult for me to understand how I should have handled that white moyo in the upper left. Like when I played this move, and the fact that I should have played this move instead, it's still very difficult for me to get a good grasp as to what is going to happen in the upper left part of the board. And I was just sort of studying it, and I didn't see how I was going to explain that to you when I didn't understand it myself.
Sure.
And so I think that's the reason it was taking me time to actually do anything and do this commentary for you, actually.
I see. That's a great game. I absolutely loved it, and I hope hopefully all of you guys enjoyed that as well. Just a quick question I see here. This was played back in the fall, obviously, before all the situation that we're in now. I think as of a couple of weeks ago, of course, all professional play has stopped. They put all the tournaments on hold, like everything else.
Right.
But normally, in a situation like this, was this played at the Neonkian?
Yes.
and everybody's there in one of those rooms, and you've got the
Well, actually, this game was played in one of the special rooms. My opponent being
ooh,
a player who was a title
sure,
player. It was played on one of the rooms on the seventh floor, which is so there's a room where um, a guest room, you might say, a kind of a living room kind of place with a big room. It's not really set up for games, but we play games there on Thursdays, and it's a room that can hold just two games.
I see.
So it's a kind of a special. There's a couple of rooms like that. It's not the special room. Like there's the Yugen room, which is a beautiful Japanese mat room. It's a Japanese style room, a tatami room, you might say, if you use the Japanese term. That is for really top players. Like if I was playing a current title player, I might be playing in that room.
That's the one with the floor goban, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a Japanese style room, and
Yeah.
the board that they take out there is going to be a beautiful board. But it wasn't that room. It was a kind of a special playing room. So
Okay.
it was just the four of us in that room, two games, and then there were record takers. It was a game that was being recorded, but normally I would be in a room with something like 20, 30, 40 players,
Right.
and
I've
10 to
seen
20 games.
I've seen those rooms. I mean, they're like the rooms that we play in, guys. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a lot of people in there, and it's pretty tight, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty tight. It would be a very bad idea in this with the virus, of course.
Absolutely.
And Japan, the Nihonkin has gone for Western rooms mostly, so it's just a few special rooms that have the tatami mats, the Japanese style. I think
Yeah,
that's a bit of a pity.
it is. It's that is a very special room, and it's that's the one with there's a inscription
Oh
on the
yes,
wall,
yes,
but
a famous a famous person, a writer actually, who made
that's
this
okay.
inscription for us. It's the
Yeah,
name of the room. The Yugen is the name of the room. Um,
wonderful.
he's a well-known writer. Well, he was a famous writer,
Yeah, very
and
cool.
yeah. There's a similar room, I think, in the Seattle Go Center, isn't there? Don't they
There
have a
is.
tatami room?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do. Yeah, it's also very, and it's a very
I think
you
that one
feel.
has calligraphy by Mr. Yumoto, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, it's a very special room. Well, wonderful game. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really, it's exciting game, and also just we'll be back next week, folks, same time, and we'll do the next. I think we're up to 41, right? Is that? I think we're up to game 41. I think we did 40 last
I
time.
think we did 40, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so 41. So we're into the last 10 or so.
I could
So
be
we'll be
wrong. We'll check. Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Somewhere around.
Our counting. We've already established that our counting is not very good, right? So, but anyway, we'll be back next Sunday with another AlphaGo game. But I know that folks had requested the historic game, and people always love to see your games. So we'll be mixing it up, folks. We actually may do. Maybe we should do another one. Let's come back with another AlphaGo game, but maybe the following week we'll put up a poll and see people can have some choices.
Okay,
Make it
I'll think about that.
think about that. Yeah, give some options. All right. Thanks as always to Stephen Hu for producing. Thanks to everybody who's made contributions. I know you've been doing that, and it really helps us with doing these streams. Stephen will put up the link for that. And I think there's also the link for the AlphaGo book, the A to Z, AlphaGo to Zero. Check that out. And of course, follow Michael. If you enjoyed this, you'll get all the Michael you can desire. He's got his YouTube channel. He's got his Twitter. He's on Twitter now, so look out. Michael's unchained. He's taking those on. So really enjoyed that. And we will see you next Sunday, 7 o'clock. Thanks again for watching, and thanks as always to the American Go Association. You can find out more at usgo.org. And as always, everybody, play Go, but be careful out there. Take care.